Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL Podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL Podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lake. I am flying solo for this episode, but that is all right. We have a pretty exciting one. Not quite a first-time cruiser, but a first-time family cruise. So I am excited. We are going to jump right into this 4-night Disney Wish sailing. And with that, I'd like to welcome our guest today, Alexis. Alexis, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for filling out the form and agreeing to meet with us to come on the show and talk about your sailing.
Of course. I'm excited to be here.
Why don't we begin by jumping in? I did mention that this was your first family cruise, but not your first cruise altogether. Why don't you give us a little bit of that cruising and Disney background?
Yeah, so my husband and I have been married for 10 years, and when we got married, our honeymoon was a Disney cruise and staying at Disney. So we've done Disneyland, we've done Disney World. We probably visit at least once a year if it's World or Land. And so we definitely are experienced with Disney. And so we had gone on the Disney Dream when we got married 10 years ago. And that feels like forever ago. So we knew it had been a while since we had cruised, but we had gone, again, like I said, to the parks, whether it was Land or World, almost every year. So we've stayed at almost every Disney property. And so we knew we wanted to do a Disney trip at some extent with my daughter once she was born. So we decided to book a cruise. And that was kind of like, but my background with cruising is mainly, we did that ship probably 10 years ago. And then we've done a few miscellaneous other ones like Norwegian, Royal Caribbean, but we knew we really wanted my daughter's first cruise to be Disney.
I love it. Well, what made you land on this 4-night sailing on the Wish?
To be honest, we had done a lot of deep digging on what ships would be ideal with a 19-month-old. And so a lot of people had wonderful things to say about the Wish. We also selfishly wanted to go on a little bit of a newer ship because we had gone on an older ship. So a lot of people had great things to also say about the splash pad. It wasn't ideal that we were going in like the middle of July, but Disney was also running a big promotional spring. And so we kind of thought the stars aligned for us to book that. And so the dates worked out. We loved that it was a little bit of a newer ship. So that was why we landed on the Wish.
Did you have any notable resources that helped you land on that decision?
I listened to a lot of these podcasts. So I feel like between listening to podcasts and then just kind of doing some digging online, that's how we landed on it. But there was no other like resources per se.
Awesome. Well, you booked this sailing, and before we ever get to Florida and get aboard the ship, you do have some pre-booking opportunities. What did you and your family pre-book before the cruise?
The only things that we had pre-booked would be transportation and then a hotel stay prior to the cruise taking off. And then we also had booked, I guess we did a town car and also the Disney transportation. Like we did a little bit of both. Yeah, those are the only things that we had pre-booked prior to actually leaving and taking off. We unfortunately didn't get a chance to pre-book any like reservations or anything like that for the actual cruise itself.
Well, then you are sailing out of Port Canaveral. How did you get to Florida, and did you do any pre-night stays?
We did. So we flew from Austin and we flew to Orlando. We had decided we wanted to get there 2 days early. So we essentially flew in 2 days early, and we really wanted to stay at a Disney resort. So we ended up taking my 19-month-old to the Polynesian. My husband and I had stayed there before. We stayed years ago when they were starting renovations. So we felt like we hadn't given it a fair shot. So we took my 19-month-old to stay there for 2 days prior, but we flew into Orlando, and then we ended up booking a town car from the airport to the resort. And then we stayed at the resort for 2 days.
And you mentioned you had pre-booked your transfer to the port then. Was that through Disney?
It was. We took the bus to the port, and then we took it at the end of our trip as well, back to the airport.
How did that experience work for you and your family?
It was great. I have zero complaints about that experience. It was very quick. We met in the lobby the morning of our sailing, and we were out of the lobby probably 30 minutes later. It was a very prompt drive to the port, and then leaving was also very quick. We were very impressed with how, it's like a well-oiled machine. You can tell they know what they're doing. Like, they had us lined up, getting on the buses, getting off. They had us moving.
Love it. Well, one more question before we jump into the excitement of embarkation. sailing with a 19-month-old. Was there anything special that you felt like you packed or anything you read, like any tips or tricks that you read for sailing with such a young child that you utilized during the sailing?
Yeah, I had watched a lot of videos and again, listened to a lot of podcasts for people sailing with toddlers. And there were definitely some tricks, such as like the over the door, like organizer that people bring with like magnets. And they pack like an outfit a day plus extra like diapers and wipes and things. So I definitely utilized that. And then when we got into our cruise room, it was really easy to just like hang it up with magnets on the walls. And then we had actually purchased like a smaller travel stroller because a lot of people had recommended not just bringing something big and bulky. So I'm very thankful we did that as well. I would say other than that, it was just your very standard items. We overpacked a lot of like snacks and things because obviously there's wonderful food on the ship, but my toddler loves to snack. So I would say snacks, honestly, just like normal everyday things were helpful for us when we were in our room. So, but yeah, other than that, I don't think there was anything out of the ordinary that we packed.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Let's jump into it though. Embarking on the Disney Wish. How was that check-in and embarkation process?
The check-in and embarkation was very easy. We were very impressed after we got off the bus. Sure, yeah, we were group 6 and it was a really quick boarding process. We ended up getting to the port right before, like, I want to say it was right around like honestly 10:30, 10:45, and we got to the port and it was a really quick boarding process. And we honestly probably didn't wait longer than like 30 to 45 minutes max, but they kept us moving through all the processes really quickly.
I love it. Well, then your family gets to embark on the Disney Wish. What was that like stepping on board her for the first time?
It was so much fun. We definitely had like goosebumps. I definitely teared up a little bit when they announced your name on the ship. Again, my husband and I had been on a cruise 10 years prior, but that's 10 years and it feels like an eternity ago. So it was really special. Everyone's in that like atrium in the foyer clapping, and you see, I think honestly, Mickey was up there waving, and my daughter was just so ecstatic. She was clapping with everyone and like looking around and taking it in. So yeah, it was special.
I love it. Well, you get on board. Where do you head first?
We went to Marceline Market for lunch. We had debated doing a sit down, but with a toddler, I just didn't think that would be the best move, like right away to go to a sit down. So we went to Marceline Market. And again, I had listened to so many podcasts and had so many things already starting to like loop in my brain as far as where I wanted to go. So my husband and I figured it would be a safe place to start for lunch.
And how was that lunch?
It was delicious. It was great. I had no complaints. I think we were in awe of everything that Disney was offering for lunch that day. So we got kind of a little bit of everything. I got my daughter some chicken tenders and fries, and we kind of got a little bit of everything. There was a lot of seating. I think that was the biggest thing that we noticed right away. It could have been because of how early we were on the ship, but that was the first thing I noticed as a mom and having a toddler. I just felt like the two things that stood out to me was the staff was incredible already. Like they were greeting her, calling her princess. It was so sweet. They were very attentive to us with getting us a high chair pretty quickly, making sure our stroller was kind of out of the way so we didn't feel in the way. And there were a lot of tables. So I was like really impressed that it didn't feel super crowded.
Love it. You have your lunch. Where do you head next?
We had to go switch our dining, to be honest, because they had actually assigned us late dining and we needed to switch that. So that was a really easy switch for us. And then we went and walked around just a little bit to get our bearings together with where everything was at. We also wanted to go tour the Once Upon a Time nursery. And so we went and toured that just to kind of get a feel for what that would be like if we wanted to drop my daughter off. And then after that, we landed at the splash pad for a good bit before our rooms were ready.
Did your daughter take well to the splash pad?
She did. Yes. I was so impressed with that splash pad and the 2 slides that they have. So yes, she loved it. We spent a lot of time there and a lot of time going down the water, those 2 little water slides that they have.
I love it. Well, you hang out there until your room is ready, it sounds like. What stateroom did you book and how did that work for you and your family?
We booked a deluxe family veranda, I believe is the name, and we loved it. Zero complaints. I remember hearing that our rooms were ready. We made our way to our stateroom and opened the door, and my husband and I were in awe with how much space there was. We had, of course, watched a lot of videos and looked at photos. Nothing compares to seeing that in person. So it was fun to actually see how much space we would have and see the balcony and just kind of get situated.
You get yourselves unpacked in your room, get yourself settled there. Where do you head next?
After we hung out there, it was honestly time for the mustard station drill. I believe, is what we had to do next. That was honestly not super eventful, but it also was a little challenging with a toddler. I think after we were there for probably like 45 minutes, it felt a little longer than what we've normally done. So I wish I would have, looking back, I do wish I would have brought maybe like a game or a toy or something, just because it was more boring for her than it was for us. That was next on the list for us.
Perfect. Did you go to the sail away party after that?
We didn't. We wanted her to run around a little bit, and so we almost made our way up there, but we had known just from our one trip that it would probably be a lot for her. So we ended up not going up there. Looking back, I do wish we would have at least tried to go. But with the madness of people going inside after that, we were like, we're just going to go run around, be inside, be in the atrium, things like that. So that's actually what we did instead. So we sadly didn't get to go.
That is all right. Well, you hang out there. Did you get up to anything else before your dining?
No, we honestly went back to the room to relax a little bit and get ready. We wanted to like fully unpack and be prepared for the next few days. So that's what we did before dinner.
Well, then, where was your first rotational dining?
It was at Marvel. That was where we ate the first night.
And how was this meal?
It was delicious. It was so great. Like I said, we have done Disney for so many years and we've never been unimpressed with anything. So we were very excited to see the menu and order and meet our waiters and kind of see if we'd be sitting with another family or not. So the meal that night, though, was delicious. We loved everything. It's always fun to get to try a little bit of everything.
Did you end up sitting with any other families for your meal?
We were, yeah. When we had to switch our dining time, they had let us know that they actually, when we originally the later dining time, they had us seated by ourselves, which is great. But we also knew with an 18, 19-month-old that we might enjoy getting to sit with another family. And so they had told us they could switch us to the earlier time, but we would be sitting with another family, which was totally fine with us. And it was such a blessing because the family we met, my daughter is like a redhead, and so is this other little girl, which was crazy. And they're both little girls with like C names. So again, I feel like Disney is so intentional with how they do that, and it feels like an extra touch of magic. But we got along with the other husband and wife really well. And our daughters were a year and a half apart, so their daughter was older than mine. But again, it was really special to get to see how intentional they were with pairing us up. And it was great getting to chat with them every night.
Well, with a younger child, it can be a little bit harder to get up to some things after that dining. Did you do any activities or entertainment that night?
We tried. Yes, we actually did try. Our goal was our daughter does go to sleep rather early. She usually is in bed by like 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, which when you're at home is a blessing. But when you're on the ship, you want to go explore other nighttime entertainment. So we did try to take her to the first show, but we didn't last very long. She was getting a little like wiggly. So I think we maybe made it like halfway through and then we had to scoot out that night, but we didn't last too long. I feel like as the days progressed, we made it longer in the shows, but we did try to sit through about half the show before we took her back and like put her down to bed.
And did either you or your husband get up to anything like individually after that evening, or?
We didn't. We both were, I think, exhausted from the travel, and we were really excited secretly for ordering some room service. We wanted to order some Mickey bars and try some other things. So we went back and we put my daughter down, and then we ended up ordering room service, and we were just really tired. We wanted to get a good night's rest before like a full next day.
And that is all right. Embarkation day is so exciting, but is also so exhausting.
For sure.
One more question before we moved on. You did mention checking out the nursery. Did you pre-book any times during the sailing for that?
When we went to check out the Once Upon a Time nursery, we ended up pre-booking 2 slots. I had not booked anything prior to getting on the cruise. So once I went and checked it out and got a feel for the staff, the lay of the land, I felt comfortable to book some times. And so we ended up booking 2 nighttime slots. My initial thought was that if we could go put her down to sleep there, or if they could put her down, we could go enjoy like some nighttime entertainment. And that was what I had done for our second and third day on the cruise when we'd be in Nassau and at Castaway. And then I actually ended up changing it because I realized I would rather her have like a wake time with them and get to play. So we ended up switching it all around, but she only ended up going to the Once Upon a Time nursery just once, and it was on our day at the Bahamas.
Alrighty. Well, let's go ahead and jump into this. You have this 4-night sailing, and you have the optimal setup of Nassau, Castaway, and then the day at sea at the end, which brings us into your first day, Nassau. Did you have any plans to get off the ship this day?
We didn't. Everyone had encouraged us, from friends to podcasts. Everyone had sort of said to stay on. And my husband and I, again, we did a similar sailing 10 years ago, and we got off and did the Bahamas, and we just didn't love it. So we were like, we have this beautiful ship. Everything's included. Let's just stay on. So we did stay on the ship the entire day.
Well, let's get into it. What did you get up to this day?
We woke up and we wanted to go get breakfast and coffee. So we went ahead and went and got some lattes, and then we went up and got breakfast. And that was so much fun, just getting to go back to Marceline Market for breakfast. My daughter loves breakfast foods, so that was a lot of fun, and getting some coffees. And then we went and walked around the ship. We kind of just wanted to, again, explore. I felt like it was very busy on embarkation day, so we just wanted to explore a little bit more. And then we knew before lunchtime we wanted to land at the splash pad, especially with it being not super, super hot quite yet. So we did make our way to the splash pad that morning as well.
I love it. Did you have a particular coffee shop you were drawn to on your sailing?
The Wishing Star Cafe. I think that's where we landed most of the time because it was closer to our room.
One of the central ones down there off of the Grand Hall. Well, what else did you get up to this day?
We landed at the splash pad and we hung out for a bit. And then it was kind of mid-morning, which mornings with a toddler feel long, especially with her being up earlier than most people on the ship. So we were at the splash pad fairly early. And then I thought to myself, we have a few extra hours. The nursery had encouraged us to call if we ever wanted to do like a last minute booking. And so I went ahead and I called just to see if we could squeeze in like 2 hours. And so they had said they could get her in the afternoon. So my thought process was we would eat lunch all together. I would take my toddler back to the room to nap. And when she wakes up from her nap, we would take her for 2 hours in the afternoon to play and hang out. And so that's what we did. We ended up doing the splash pad for quite a bit of time. We went and changed clothes, and then we ended up taking her to grab some lunch before nap. I was so excited to finally try Donald's Cantina for lunch, and that absolutely lived up to the hype, which was so fun. I felt like I was like living a dream, just getting to experience all the food on the Disney ship. So we got Donald's Cantina for lunch. I think we got my daughter something different. I think she just did, again, some like chicken tenders and fries. And then we took her back to the room for a nap before she was going to wake up and go to the nursery.
Well, you drop her off at the nursery. Did that work out okay for her?
It did. It was great. They had given us a magic band to put on her. And when I tried to put it on her, she sobbed hysterically, did not want to wear it. But we dropped her off with it and they told us, go have fun. We'll let you know if we have any issues. And so it was really fun because my husband and I, we wanted to ride the water slide and we wanted to do a lot of different things that obviously we couldn't do with her. Yes, we could take turns, but we wanted to ride it together. We wanted to go check out maybe some of the adults only areas. So we dropped her off and everything was great. We came back and she had the magic band on. She had paint all over her face. She looked like she had had a great time. So we were thankful we did that, even if it was for such a brief period of time. I'm glad that she got to play with other kids and just do some, toddler-like activities while my husband and I got to sneak away.
Did you and your husband get to do everything you were hoping to do in that time?
So yes, to answer your question, we did get to do everything that we wanted to do. The line was rather long, so we were nervous that our thought process was we don't want to wait in a line the entire time she's in the nursery, but it was also very high on our list to try it once. And so we waited in the line. It was so much fun. I'm very glad that we did that. We ended up getting a snack, some ice cream cones, and then we honestly just went and read and laid by the pool for a little bit. So that was the gist of our alone time. I think looking back, we probably would have done that again the next day if we could have. That's where I think I wish I would have thought about my daughter's schedule and kind of her awake time. And I would have pre-booked more nursery time on that first day. Looking back, I wish I would have done that. But I didn't really know what to pre-book. And so as a mom, I was like, I wish I would have known that. Because when you walk in, you're kind of just scatterbrained and wanting to book so many time slots. And you're like, oh, I want to go to the show, so I'm going to book nighttime. And I'd love for her to nap in the nursery. But honestly, her napping with me was not a big deal because the minute she woke up, I was like, here, go play. I'm going to go play. So that's exactly what we did. But I wish I would have done it once more so my husband and I could go get drinks or enjoy trivia or something else. But we did get to enjoy everything that first day that we wanted to.
Well, after it's time to pick her up, did you get up to anything else before your dinner time?
Yes, I think we did a few character meet and greets. I know they oftentimes have Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Daisy kind of roaming in that, like in the atrium, like right near the coffee shop that we had frequented. So the first day, my daughter was actually terribly afraid of Mickey, which was sad for us because we were so excited. But by the first day, honestly, like when we were in the Bahamas, she loved people watching and was loving to like watch the meet and greet. And by the last day, she wanted to basically like give them the biggest hug, which was sweet. But I think it took some warming up too. So that first day we were doing a lot of like character meet and greets, but it was really just like people watching and like seeing other kids get to meet the characters.
On that subject, did you and your family use the photo package at all?
We didn't. We didn't. I can see how it's convenient now leaving the trip, to be honest. So looking back, I do wish I would have explored that a little bit more, but we didn't utilize it this time around.
That's all right. The attendants still took pictures on your phone and everything for you.
Yeah, for sure. And they're very helpful with that.
Love it. Did you get up to anything else before your next night's dinner?
No, we didn't. We went back to the room and got ready for dinner and just relaxed a little bit before heading out.
Well, then, was this Arendelle for you?
It was Arendelle.
How was this dinner?
It was great. Was so impressed with the decor and the ambiance when you walk down the hallway and then another hallway, and just the anticipation going back there is so fun. And then the menu itself was delicious. I was so impressed with everything, and so was my husband. My daughter, I think this was like the second night that we started to realize like how attentive our servers are too. So just her being able to sit down, them having her drinks ready, the food comes out so quickly for your toddler. It really is so impressive. So that night was wonderful, though. We were so impressed with the food. I think when the meal wraps up, you kind of don't want it to end because you're just loving everything so much. What
did your toddler tend to eat for these rotational meals? Was it off the kids' menu? Did they do anything special for her?
The first night, we ordered something special. It was actually off of the kids' menu, but it wasn't like your traditional like tenders and fries. I want to say she got like a spaghetti and meatballs the first night. And she does love meatballs, which is funny, but she ended up not loving that. And so the servers picked up on that the first night and brought her something different, which was incredible. And so most of the nights she was ordering off the kids' menu, though. They had a wide variety, and that's also something that I thought was super impressive. And if there was something specific you wanted, they would also bring it as well. So I remember, the night with the spaghetti and meatballs, they were like, if we need to cut them up, let us know. The second night, I think we got a burger, but we were like, she's not going to love the bun, so can we just like leave it off? And they were happy to do so. So most of the nights it was the kids' menu, and there were so many options from like them having a drink to the entree to the sides to the dessert. So I felt like it was a great variety for her, especially with how young she is.
I love it. What did your family think of the entertainment this night as well?
It was so fun. She loved the music. My daughter loves clapping and kind of like dancing around a little bit. So it was fun to get to see everything. Our table wasn't super close to the entertainment, but we definitely had a good view. And she loved that they were walking around and talking to the table, like that you're getting to meet characters. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun to get to do that. And to also for her to get to watch the other little girl at our table kind of experience that too. That was also like another extra level of like entertainment for my daughter. She was really getting to enjoy like seeing other kids and how they were responding to that as well.
Awesome. Well, sounds like a lovely second meal here. Did you get up to anything else this evening?
To be honest, no. That second night, we wanted to go to the show, and my daughter was just not having it as much. So we ended up not going to the show that night. We ended up going back and putting her down. I had stressed to my husband that he could go out and do something if he wanted me to stay in the room with her. And I think something that hit us both probably like by the second day was that this was like, yes, it's a vacation, but it's also so different on a vacation with a toddler. So we were both just extremely exhausted. We were like, this is much more of like an adventure. And so I think we both were just extremely exhausted by the end of the day. So when she went down, we were able to just turn on something. We loved that we could stream pretty much anything from the TV. So we did room service again. We relaxed. So it was, I wish we knew we could stream. Oh, we did turn on a little bit of the show, because that was something that was so impressive, was we didn't realize you could stream the shows from your TV. So we did do that for a good chunk of time, and then we switched to Disney Plus. But yeah, that was it for the rest of the night.
Yeah, that is one of the great perks if you don't want to actually sit through the show, is they will play the show that is playing that night, but they will also play it on repeat, so you have some extra times to see it as well. Only difference is it's not live recorded. It is a pre-recorded version, but you still get a great experience with it.
Yes, for sure. We were thankful that we had that opportunity with having a toddler this time around.
We move into your next day, Disney's private island, Castaway Cay. What did you get up to this day?
We wanted to get off. We wanted to get up, get ready, get breakfast, and try to get off. My daughter just napped in the afternoon, and so she has napped on the go. So we had a stroller. We were ready for that, but we also wanted to be prepared that if we needed to get back on the ship for nap time, we got off and did what we could in the morning. We woke up, we went up to Marceline Market for a quick breakfast. We were already dressed and ready to go because we wanted to be able to get off from breakfast. So we went up for breakfast. My husband and I got coffees, I believe, and then we got off the ship pretty promptly because we wanted to make our way over to the beach and to explore the splash pad and all the areas that were on the island.
What did you think of Castaway then? Or had you been there before?
We had been, yes. My husband and I went when we did our original sailing for our honeymoon 10 years ago when we were on the Dream. So we had been, but it was totally different than I remember. Some of it felt a little different, but we also explored when him and I got married 10 years ago. It felt different because we didn't have a toddler. So we had been once.
Well, how was this day for you and your family?
It was good. I will say I felt like as a mom, I was a little disappointed in the splash pad. I felt like it was a little anticlimactic, if I'm being honest, which it's hard to compare the splash pad on the ship to what they're going to have on the island. But I felt like I had high hopes for it. And I feel like when you're getting off the ship with, a backpack and a stroller and a toddler, and then it's hot. And then we ended up walking the entire way because we had done it before and we had the stroller. So my husband and I walked. We weren't going to take like the little tram, the shuttle they have. So we ended up making the walk and it wasn't bad at all. But I think by the time we found our way and got to the splash pad, we both were a little bummed that we were like, we didn't expect there to be slides and all that stuff, but we were a little bummed. So we did that splash pad for probably no longer than 30 minutes, which was quick. And then we took my daughter over to the beach area just for her to get to be in the sand and see the ocean. She had never done either of those before, which was fun for us. So we had brought in some beach toys, which I am thankful I packed. That was another thing that I threw in my bag before we left was just like some beach toys just to be safe. And then she played with those for a little bit. We got her in the water. I want to say close to like 11:30, we were kind of like done. She was kind of getting overheated. We ended up putting her in the stroller and she actually fell asleep within seconds. And so my husband and I were kind of like, maybe we just get back on the ship. It's okay. We can, there's so much to do on the ship. There's wonderful food. So we ended up making the walk back over probably close to like 11 or 11:30 and she was knocked out. But we're glad we got off and got to explore, but it definitely didn't last as long as we thought it would.
Well, luckily, Castaway Day is still a wonderful time to be on the ship because so many people are off exploring the island. How was that experience once you got back on?
We honestly felt like we had the ship to ourselves, which was fun. So that did hit us rather quickly. We were like, okay, this is not the worst thing ever. Everyone is off and we're on the ship. So we let her sleep. And my husband and I ended up getting coffees and going and sitting in the atrium and just kind of like people watching. And there were still some characters roaming, which was fun. And my daughter was knocked out. So we were just going to kind of let her be in the stroller. So we got coffees, got to enjoy some time unintentionally of like just like some alone time, just like chatting. And so it was nice to get to kind of chill with the ship so empty. And then she finally woke up and we ended up getting some food. So we went up and I got Donald's Cantina again. And my husband, I think, got some barbecue. And I don't remember what we got my daughter, but she may have I think we ended up getting her actually some barbecue and fries as well. So it's so nice that it's all right there. But yeah, that was what we did when we got back on the ship. And then I honestly want to say after we ate lunch, she still had her suit on. So we ended up going to the splash pad on the ship for a bit as well.
Well, still sounds like a lovely use of your time.
It was fun. It was great. It was nice that there was barely anyone on the ship. Again, I think looking back, we wish we would have been able to stay off longer, but the ship spoils you with that splash pad experience. And now that my toddler has been down both of those water slides, I don't think she wants to go to any other splash pad. But that is honestly what we did for most of the afternoon. I think we were out there for a few hours going back and forth between the splash pad and getting a snack and the splash pad and getting a snack. And then we ended up just going back to the room and relaxing a little bit and getting ready before dinner.
Sounds like this should be your pirate night.
It was. Yes, we went back to Arendelle.
How was this meal for you and your family?
It was great. The one thing that we were confused about, I think, just going back in after not cruising with Disney for 10 years, is my husband was like, is it going to be the same, dinner menu? We just ate this last night and everything had changed. Everything was different. It was so fun to get to dress up, and having my daughter there, getting to dress up with her was fun too. So it was completely different. It was all delicious. We had a wonderful time. The entertainment was great as well. So we were excited to go back to Arendelle. I also really liked the vibe in there. So it was great. It was a lot of fun that night.
Any highlights from that meal?
I want to say I ordered an ice cream sundae that night. That was like absolutely outstanding, but I can't think of anything else that was like out of this world. Most of the meals that we got numerous things to try, whether it was like a few different appetizers. My husband even had gotten, 2 entrees at one point. So I don't remember anything distinctly that evening, but I do remember I'm almost positive ordering an ice cream sundae that I told my husband I would order again if I could.
Awesome. Well, did you get up to any other pirate activities this evening?
Yes, we ended up trying to go up to the pirate. Is it the pirate party that they have? Yeah. We took my daughter up there for probably a good 30 minutes. We tried to enjoy that with her, just to be outside and watch the entertainment and do that. So we did go up there before we took her to bed. Every night we really tried to like push her to see if we could just keep her awake and do something. And so she definitely went to bed every single night past her bedtime, and she was completely fine. But we wanted to experience that a little bit with everyone. So we knew we weren't going to make it to the fireworks, which really bummed us out. So we were like, at least we'll get to experience a little bit of it. So we ended up going to that for probably 30 minutes before we slowly made our way back to our room.
Yeah, if you're early bedtime goers, the fireworks can be kind of a point of contention. They don't usually happen until 10:30, almost 11 o'clock. So
Yeah.
it can definitely be hard, especially if you have younger children.
Yeah, it was a bummer. We got to experience it again 10 years ago when we went, but we were hoping we would be able to possibly do it. And I had told my husband if he wanted to sneak out of the room to go watch, he could, but we sadly didn't get to see the fireworks. But I'm glad we got to experience other parts of Pirate Night.
Well, you have one more day aboard the ship, a full day at sea. What did your family get up to this day?
The first thing that was on our to-do list was to go eat the Mickey churro waffles, because I think everyone had stressed to us to go eat the churro waffles. So that was the first thing we did. And for some reason, I don't even remember that being a thing when my husband and I sailed 10 years ago. So I was like, I don't think that was talked about. Because I was like, if it was, I'm totally missed out. But I think I could have eaten those the rest of the day. They were so good. But we did that first right away. And then after breakfast, we actually waited in line for a few character meet and greets. At that point, my daughter was definitely like interested in like giving them hugs and getting to meet them and giving them high fives. So we did a few character meet and greets with like Mickey and Minnie. And I will say, I feel like everyone says this, but it just blows my mind at how short those lines are when you're wanting to meet characters on the ship. Like we never waited longer than 10 minutes max. And so it doesn't compare at all to the parks because we've waited so long to meet one person before. So it was fun that we would get to meet a character in less than 10 minutes, also while waiting in the AC for the most part. So we did that for probably a good hour. And that morning, my husband and I got another coffee and we just like walked around, letting her meet some characters and waiting in line after breakfast.
Yeah, definitely one of the greatest perks of Disney Cruise Line is you can meet a ton of characters throughout your sailing, and usually the same characters appear a couple times, which also helps spread out those lines a little bit more.
Yeah, it was very handy to use the app that they have because we used the app so much because we were able to see where the meet and greets were happening, and we were able to go in and kind of favorite who we knew she would want to meet.
Awesome. Well, what else did you get up to?
We ended up grabbing an early lunch because we wanted my daughter to take a little bit of an earlier nap. So we ended up going, I think we ate lunch that day. We may have honestly just done like more barbecue, more Donald's Cantina. We may have gotten my daughter something from Marceline Market. I'm almost positive that day. And then we put her down for an early nap because we knew we wanted to go to the 2 p.m. showing of Aladdin. We really wanted to try that since they offered a matinee. We thought it would be the best option for her if we wanted to try to see something that wasn't like right around bedtime. So that's what we did. We ended up grabbing lunch. We put her down for an early nap. We hung out in the room. I sadly started organizing a little bit because I knew we were going to be getting off soon. So I just started organizing things and I let her rest. And then we woke her up for the 2 p.m. showing of Aladdin.
Did she do all right in the show?
We were okay. We made it through a little more than half. We didn't make it through the whole thing, but we got to sit through a lot of the songs, which I loved. We got there a little early. That's the hard part with having a toddler is you want to get there early for like to reserve a seat. And my husband would let me go reserve the seats and he'd go run around with her in the lobby atrium area. And then they would come in closer to showing. But she really wanted to be with me that last day. So we all went in there and sat and waited. And I think by the time we were like 75% done with the show, she was like, I'm done. So we made it through most of it. The parts that we got to sit through were absolutely phenomenal. So I was so impressed. It had been 10 years since we got to see some of the showings at sea. And my husband and I also love Aladdin. So it was really cool to see that.
Love it. Glad you at least got to experience a little bit of the show.
Yes, we for sure did. Yeah, we got to sit through, I want to say probably like 75% of it. And then we ended up leaving with her because she was just getting too wiggly.
Well, what else did you get up to this day?
We did go back to the splash pad because we realized it was going to be one of our last times before getting off the ship. So we took my daughter back to the splash pad. We were going to try to do the nursery again, but the timing just didn't work out and they were fully booked. Again, had I had known walking in that first day when we got on the ship, I would have had to have been like one of the first 50 people to have been in the nursery to tour. And so I wish I would have reserved some time in the afternoon for that day at sea. But by the time we got to the day at sea, they were like, oh, everyone wants to be in here because it's the day at sea. And so I was like, got it. I understand now. So I wish I would have understood that a little bit more, and I didn't. So now looking back, I wish I would have reserved a little bit of time for that day at sea, just knowing that she had a great experience. I obviously didn't know if she was going to have a good experience in the nursery, but she loved it. So we ended up going to the splash pad. We did a few other character meet and greets, and that was really it, to be honest. We didn't do anything else crazy that afternoon.
Well, then this brings you into your final dinner, which is an awesome location for your last dinner, 1923. How was this meal?
It was wonderful. My husband and I were very excited for this. I will say out of all the like dinners, this probably was like, we were the most excited for it as adults, but I think from my daughter's perspective, she would probably say the others were more entertaining from like an entertainment perspective. So I think walking into it, we tried to pack the most like extra snacks, extra toys, extra games because we were excited, but we knew there would be like less going on around her to like observe and watch and like music and entertainment. So we were so excited and it really did live up to the hype. The food was delicious. I think my husband got the filet that night or something, and it was outstanding. So our servers were incredible. The food was delicious that night. I think we were sad to see it slowly coming to an end, but that meal was wonderful. And the ambiance in there, from like the sketches to everything when you're walking to your table, is so cool.
I love it. Yeah, it's a really great restaurant. A little bit more sophisticated in its ambiance and theming. There's no show elements, but a lovely meal.
Yeah, it was. It was great. And my husband and I we walked past it so many times leading up to that last night. So we were excited. We were also excited that they put us on like the Walt side. So my husband was also looking forward to that. He's watched so many like documentaries and read so many books on Walt. So it was fun to get to see that and like experience that restaurant.
I love it. Well, did you get up to anything else on your final evening on board?
We didn't. No, since we had seen the 2 p.m. showing of Aladdin, we knew that we had like the night to go back to the room and hang out if we wanted. We ended up going back and putting my daughter down. Walking into booking that room, we were so excited about like the split bathroom and having a tub on there. And we didn't really do bath time with her as much as we thought we would, because I think we just wanted to utilize as much time around the ship as possible. So we were always every night doing expedited bath time and like bedtime. So her bedtime routine was like super short and sweet, but we ended up putting her down early because we knew we wanted to get up early to possibly, grab coffee, grab breakfast before getting off the ship.
Well, sadly, that brings us into the final morning on board, disembarkation. How was this process for you and your family, and what was your plan for getting home?
We planned to take the Disney transportation back to the airport. we were flying back at like 12:45, 12:50. So we definitely had a little bit of an earlier flight. And we were a little nervous about what the process would be like getting off because we ended up not giving them our luggage. We wanted to take our luggage just with having an earlier flight time. That's what Disney had encouraged us to do. So we kept our luggage with us. And that morning when we woke up, we left our luggage in our room for a quick second to go grab coffee. And it already was so early and we felt so bad leaving our luggage in our room, but everyone had their luggage with them already. Rooms were getting cleaned. And so my husband and I went and grabbed coffee and we both kind of looked at ourselves and we were like, I don't think we can go get breakfast because we didn't think we were going to be able to lug all of our suitcases in our stroller to go get breakfast and then back down, especially with a toddler. So I think looking back, I wish we would have woken up just a tad earlier to be able to just like go run and grab breakfast and then come back and like get out of the room. But we had kind of gotten ourselves ready in the room and then went and grabbed coffee. And then we were like, this is too much. So we got coffee, we went back and we ended up just getting off. So we sadly didn't get a last breakfast that morning. And looking back, I think we would have been able to do that if we would have woken up just a tad earlier. But we knew we also needed to get to the airport. So we ended up taking the Disney transportation, though, to the airport.
Awesome. Well, always sad to leave the ship, but that doesn't mean our conversation about your sailing has to end, because I have a couple more questions for you. First off, sounds like you two are pretty big coffee drinkers. Did you have a favorite order on board?
Honestly, we just got different flavors of lattes. One of the servers that told us they have like over like 30 flavors behind the bar there. So we just experimented with different types of like iced lattes. My husband did a few like warm cappuccinos because he loved the character art on top of the cappuccinos. That was so fun to see. That was a fun experience. And we loved that they had a punch card. I think that surprised my husband that, for every few orders, he was going to get a free one.
Definitely entices you to get some more coffee for sure.
Yeah.
You did pretty good highlighting some things that you would do different or wish you had known before. Were there any other things that you wish you had knew before the sailing that you know now?
I don't think so. There's nothing that like hits me because I feel like as I shared, most of it was probably just like I was already sharing it. So there's nothing else that comes to mind.
Was there anything you missed out on that would be a must do for next time?
I think it would be booking a few more experiences on the ship. I had really wanted to do the royal gathering with my daughter, but I didn't know how she would do with characters and meet and greets and all of that. And the day we got on the ship, someone in an elevator actually looked at me and was like, I would get on the app right now and book the royal gathering for her if you're interested. And I was like, that's so nice of you. Thank you. And so I got onto the app and I saw that there were openings for literally the next day when we were going to be in the Bahamas. And so I booked it. And then as the day progressed, I kind of saw that my daughter was not really warming up to characters very well. And so I ended up canceling it because I wanted somebody else to be able to enjoy that. And I think moving forward, I would love to just like keep it because she ended up warming up to people and like the characters so well. So I think the next time we go, I would probably just book a few more things. I think we got on the ship and I was starstruck at like seeing everything in person, from the food to the ship to the rooms, that I completely forgot about the app. And I wish I would have gotten on and, looked at that a little bit sooner.
I know it's been a little while, but any thoughts on the dream versus the wish?
Honestly, the wish does feel like so much bigger and so much newer. I would say it just feels a little bit more like modern, if I'm being honest. I think the biggest area that my husband and I noticed it is the staterooms, to be honest. Like that's the biggest thing, which is nice. Like the hardest part for us, which I'll speak very candidly, is when you're sailing with Disney, there is like a certain price tag you're paying. And so it's really hard for us to pay that price tag for an older ship versus like a newer ship. It's hard for us to pay that dollar when you're sailing on like an older ship versus then now seeing the Wish, because the Wish is just so much more like newer and updated and it's modern. And we feel like it's just like a whole different experience. But yeah, the rooms are like a day and night difference in our opinion. Like we went back and looked at photos and videos of when we went on the Dream, and the rooms just look so different. And even like some of the hallways and things like that, I would totally sail. Now going back on the Wish, I would totally sail some of the newer ships, but I also kind of makes me appreciate the like older ships as well.
Love it. No, I think that's a great point. I mean, the staterooms are my wife's biggest proponent of the Wish class ships for sure, just being more updated and a little bit brighter in their design.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like even like the TV placement is a little confusing because we loved that we could close that curtain and my daughter could be asleep. and we could still watch TV. And I'm sure you can still do that on the Dream, but that wasn't even a thought that like came across my mind until I started watching videos and was like, the TV is in such like an awkward spot. So there's just like so many random things where I was like, I feel like they've definitely made improvements for the better.
Awesome. Well then, Alexis, what is next for you and your family?
My husband and I want to eventually plan a trip away from my daughter and do something just the two of us. So we've been exploring possibly doing like a short cruise out of San Diego, which is on some of their older ships. So we've been exploring that. But after that, I think there's two things that are on our list. We really do want to sail on the Treasure, which would be a little bit of a longer sailing. I didn't note this, but walking into our cruise, my daughter had been struggling with motion sickness, and thankfully she didn't experience any of that on the cruise. So now that we've done that 4-night sailing, we want to do something a little longer with her. And then we also want to do an Alaskan cruise. So that's pretty high up on our list as well. But we haven't booked anything officially yet.
Did you book a placeholder?
We didn't, no. And that was honestly, that I will say that was one of my husband's like number one regrets when we got off. So looking back, I would tell someone to do that because we have a few on our bucket list. And I think he wishes he would have done at least one placeholder.
And certainly all some amazing options that you are looking for. My last question, though, for you, did you have any other notable cast interactions from your sailing?
Nothing out of the ordinary, but I will say that our interactions with our servers every night at dinner were incredible. And so that's the only like standout thing to us that was incredible. My daughter got to meet Mickey and Minnie a few times, and that was so sweet and special. But I will say the way that our servers interacted with my daughter at dinner almost every night was so kind, so intentional, so sweet. And then all the staff just floating around, like even greeting people at like Marceline Market and outside, everyone just acknowledged her. Like there was never a hallway that my daughter went down where she wasn't like acknowledged by somebody, which really blew my husband and I away for sure.
I love it. Sounds like an absolutely incredible sailing. Thank you again so much for coming on and sharing it with us and our listeners.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, that is gonna wrap up the show. Thank you all so much for listening. As always, you can follow Christy at Pack Your Pixie Dust, and you can hit the Book with Christy link below to utilize her travel services. You can follow myself at MouseGen on Instagram and Facebook, and you can follow the podcast at DCL Podcast, and find more information at our website, dclpodcast.com. But that is going to wrap up the show. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Bye, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the show. Once again, we want to thank Alexis for coming on and sharing her family's adventures on the Disney Wish. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'd also like to thank our Patreons who help make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/DCL Podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailing and safe travels. And we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.